Hi everybody, this is Danny Class. The pentatonic scale is something that many of you probably already know or at least are familiar with a little bit, and it's been used in rock and blues for decades really. But I want us to take a look at it from an approach of a fingerstylist and ask ourselves, can we get more sound out of it? Can we get some more creativity out of it as opposed to only playing the scale? And that is the focus of today's lesson. And the answer is yes, there are some simple things we can do because we have available fingers on our right hand when we play it to really kind of grow and expand the scale to make it more interesting musically and to not make it only sound like a solo. That's really the idea here. Okay, so pentatonic scale simply means a 5-note scale, and the one that I am going to focus on is going to be the A minor pentatonic scale because it is within the key of C, so there's no sharps or flats, and it's one that some of you might know already. There are multiple fingerings, which I will put in the description to the video, but I'm just going to, for the demonstration today, just show you the one on the 5th fret. So starting from the 5th fret. So let's go through the scale first just to kind of refamiliarize ourselves with it, and then we'll talk about how to make it more interesting. Okay, so here comes the scale starting from the 5th fret. And then backwards a little faster. Okay, so for the right hand, the general rule when it comes to playing fingerstyle, and emphasis on general because we can kind of break it, but you want your thumb to be hitting the bass strings, so strings 6, 5, and 4, which I was doing here. Then your first finger will hit the 3rd string, your second finger will hit the 2nd string, and your third finger will hit the 3rd string, the 1st string, excuse me, the 1st string. Okay, so how to make this more interesting? First of all, there's basically 2 things that I had in mind to do to make this a more compelling kind of musical thing. The first is that there are open notes that go with the scale. Really, in some ways, all of them, but really the 6th, the 5th, and the 1st string. The 6th string and the 1st strings are E's, and the 5th string is an A. So ask yourself, can you play that and then maybe hammer on those notes? So for example, on the 1st string, we could hammer on or slide. Okay, same with the 5th string. So just kind of keep that in mind because the main part of what I'd like to show you today are using open strings, which will really kind of grow and expand the scale. Okay, the 2 open strings that probably sound the best with this scale are going to be the open E and the open A. So that's going to be the 1st string and the 5th string. So let's therefore start on the 4th string of the scale. Okay, and if I'm just playing those 2 notes of the scale, okay, that's fine. You know, you can slide it, whatever. But what if we threw in the open A? And in whatever way you want, I'm playing them together, you know, or you can just play one and get a kind of a drone going. See how that note is the root note, so it really wants to be there and it really does expand the scale to something more interesting. Keep going. Together. Plop, 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 plop. Mix and match. Let alone all the other fingerings that are with this scale. So really what you're doing here is you're not having to rely on a backing track or another musician, and if you're stuck in quarantine like I am here, then that's kind of important. And so this becomes a way to kind of just make the scale, like I said, more compelling. So the A will work, for all of these notes. Now, of course, when you get to the A itself, well, then you can't play it, but you can maybe do that hammer on. And then even, with the sixth string, then it becomes different because that's lower, but still get, kind of that going. There's a double A here because I'm fingering the A here. So use the A as a background drone, and that can kind of help. Now the other one, and thumb, by the way, when you play those, okay? So here I'm still using my thumb, and then when I get to, the first string, I'm using my third finger. Okay, the other one that could be interesting and compelling is the open E. I think the high E works pretty well here, actually. So high meaning in pitch, meaning the first string. So that's going to be one that you can kind of always pluck. And let's now start on the sixth string. Gets a little tight here because now you're using these two fingers, but why not? And then, of course, on the E itself, you can't, but... works nice, doesn't it? You can use them together. So now you got an open A and an open E, and try to play the scale in between. This is really good finger practice for the right hand to kind of separate your fingers out to sort of get used to playing sorry, I'm getting distracted because the scale is, I really like it. Different fingers at this from different strings, but not kind of all the fingers with all the strings, right? So that's the basic idea, use open notes even in scales, even in a pentatonic scale, because the pentatonic scale is good, but it can be limiting because it's, if you want to get more notes in, and we can talk later about using other scales, because there's countless really for jazz, then you have to use other notes. So the idea here is just to kind of use the scale, use the open notes to kind of grow the scale. Now I'm just showing this one fingering, but if you're familiar with the pentatonic minor scale, you can use it up and down. And the other thing to think about is the other keys, of course, because after all, there's an E minor pentatonic, and the low E will always work well there, right? So once you memorize that pattern, throw a low E and a high E in, and let alone with downward tuning. If you do like a drop D tuning, then you could do D minor pentatonic, and you have a low D that'll work too. And the other thing to think about always is, as you do this lesson, ask yourself, right, but are there even other open notes that he didn't talk about? Like, I don't know, like the open B or the open G, the open D. Those are going to be tones that are a little less obvious as kind of good background noises, but in certain notes they could work well and they could add some coloring. So I hope you found this lesson useful, and as a way to kind of grow and make the pentatonic scale your own kind of music, your own kind of creative vehicle beyond just soloing. And I will see you next time. Stay well. Bye-bye.